So what is the business opportunity around all of this? Well, clearly it's around the new markets that exist, because when we start to talk about this concept of the Internet of Everything, I think we fundamentally change and shift the field in which organisations operate. So it really does allow any organisation to operate in this space, because not only are we talking about challenging existing ways of working when we start to connect anything to the Internet, we also start to introduce some very interesting new market opportunities around that. Clearly, when we start to get that information and turn it into insight, we start to be able to provide much greater level of efficiency and productivity. We can look at where the inefficiencies within any organisation may exist, be it in a production line literally from ground right the way through its production cycle, through to deployment and consumption. We can start to get a much better visibility of how we can drive efficiency within an organisation. We can start to create much better relationships and engagement with not only customers but with citizens. We can start to look at how we can deploy and create services that allow individuals to be much more connected to the way in which they live their lives. And as I said throughout, as a result of all of this, we start to get much greater insight into the way in which people live their lives and the creativity that will come with that in terms of the marketing and decision-making process. And what's all of this worth? Well, it's worth a lot of money. We conducted a piece of research earlier this year looking at I think it was 10 countries around the globe, purely looking at the enterprise side of the business, so the private sector side of the business. So this doesn't take into account the obvious public sector benefits that could come from this. But what we did was, over the next 10 years, we've calculated that the opportunity or the value at stake, which is the transformation, disruption to existing markets and the creation of new business models, is worth somewhere in the region of $14.4 trillion. So it's a huge number that we're now talking about here. And the UK is very, very well placed. You know, we have a very evolving infrastructure. We have clearly a very high-speed infrastructure here, which allows a lot of what we've talked about here to become a reality. Once you've got that infrastructure, the possibilities of what you start to connect into that are really only limited by our traditional ways of thinking. And you can see here, we produced some 21 different use case examples, and this is all freely available on the web if you want to do a search for it. You'll see some 21 different use cases across different verticals of where the Internet of Everything will transform the way in which we live our lives and organisations grow. And you can see the summary of where those benefits will come from, whether it's asset utilisation, employee productivity, supply chain efficiencies, improved customer experience, or just the sheer fact that we'll be able to innovate at a level and a speed that we just simply haven't thought possible before. And for me, that's what makes working in this technology sector so exciting, because I genuinely believe we are at the infancy of what is possible with technology. And I think once you've got that infrastructure in place, it allows you to start to do some very interesting things. And it allows us to start to pull together those different elements that I talked about at the very beginning. So the people, the process, creating the data, and giving us that insight through the connection of things.